Hi, I'm back. So, first off, this is not a video essay. I'm going to be kind of touching on dialectical materialism, historical materialism, which are much bigger topics to dive into. So, this is not going to be a very thorough video when it comes to that. I'm just going to be kind of yapping about some ideas that I have around art, and that's pretty much what this is going to be. Sorry, I should make sure that I'm talking into the mic. I haven't made a video on this channel in a long time, so yeah, I want to kind of get back into it. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some ideas that I have around originality and how that's been ruminating in my brain a little bit. Nothing particularly revolutionary, just some things that I want to bring up and maybe start some conversations about. Around the summer of like 2020, my boyfriend introduced me to Fiona Apple. I know I hadn't really listened to much Fiona Apple. I was listening to some interviews, and she kind of puts forward this idea that the songwriting process for her is kind of very intuitive. It kind of looks for where music was supposed to go, and that's when it feels right for her. She looks for what lyrics feel like they were supposed to be there, what chords sound like they were supposed to be there. And I think that's the wording that she used.
I really enjoy fitting words together, but I only enjoy it when it's kind of easy, when it just kind of rolls along by itself. I never erase or cross out anything. I hardly ever write anything down. The song will be completely written in my head before it's actually written down.
But it's all about, things that I've experienced. I don't know how I could really write about anything that I didn't know about,
Right.
And I only know my own experience.
At that point, I had been learning a lot about historical materialism. Generally, it's the idea that it's kind of like the Kamala Harris meme, where you exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you. But it is really, it's a very, I always say this, I think that's a really great way of condensing historical materialism. Again, this is not going to be a huge explanation. Sorry, my cat's here. On historical materialism. Generally, it's the idea that humans are influenced by their environment. And on a wider scale, historically, cultures are influenced by their environment. Political, social systems are influenced by their environment. I'm really interested in that idea in general, and I was kind of exploring that a lot at the time. So I thought that really fit very nicely into those ideas that I was developing about history and about life in general. So from then on, I really kind of started going through life, consuming art with that idea. I think that's really what I like the most about art at this point in my life, this idea that we as creatures kind of collect and gather all this stuff, not even just information, but feelings and everything that we are is just a collection of things from what we experience. And the idea of taking that and kind of tuning it and spitting it back out, taking your experience of the world, translating it or attempting to translate it into something and spinning it out onto a piece of music, a painting. I think that's my definition of art, and I really enjoy that idea, and I really enjoy applying that to a lot of the media that I consume. Until I started listening to Aphex Twin, and Aphex Twin's music is, of course, very different from Fiona Apple's, but they're both very successful musicians. He has very different ideas about what it means to make art. From what I gathered from his older interviews, at least from the 90s, he very clearly has a strong emphasis on originality. He doesn't want to be influenced by anyone, and he doesn't feel like he's influenced by anyone. He wants to be as original as humanly possible, and that's the source of a lot of what he makes. And I did fundamentally disagree with it.
What about musical influences? You got any major musical influences, or you just...
Yeah, I love loads of different music, but it inspires me to do my own music, but it never influences me. I don't like copying other people, because I just enjoy people's music because it sounds different, so I wouldn't want to copy it.
So where do you get your inspiration from? You just go in your studio and it just comes out, or?
Well, recently just been getting it because I live in a house full of people, so I was playing loads of good music and stuff, so I've been getting into that, but I want to go away and be on my own again like I did when I was growing up. So just prefer to be inspired myself, without taking influences from other people.
It's probably both got good sides.
Yeah, they've definitely both got good sides, but I prefer listening back to tracks, so I haven't been influenced by other people.
Well, I only make music for myself. It's a relation between just me and making music, and there's no other factor that interrupts it at all. So press and what anybody else says is totally irrelevant.
And I think the conclusion that I'm trying to get at here is that I believe originality is a myth. And a myth not in the sense that it's just something that is not true. A myth in the sense that it's something that might not be accurate to the actual historical process of things, but a useful idea to kind of use as a lens, right? I just kind of wanted to talk about that. This is mostly kind of just like kind of going to be a practice video on maybe a deeper exploration of that, maybe get some other artists' opinion on this, and kind of compile that together and spit out my own little blob of experience. Tell me if you have any other ideas about this. I'd really like to hear them because this is one of my favorite things to talk about with my friends. I think I get very close to kind of the idea of fate when I think about this. I haven't fully fleshed out my ideas on a lot of these topics. I'm still very young to learning about historical materialism. When I talk about this and when I kind of dive deeply into it, I get really close to this idea of fate, kind of regressing back to this idea that there's no such thing as free will and everything is written. And I have to say, I find a lot of comfort in that. At least in my own personal life, I don't think necessarily that this is something that you could apply to everything like you can with historical materialism, which I think is extremely useful to apply to everything. Personally, I really do like the idea of destiny. I used to be big into like the multiple worlds theory. I think that's what it's called. This idea that every decision that you make kind of creates its own universe where you made the opposite or the other decision, and that there's a ton of different versions of yourself living every single possible life that you could be living. I used to be a really big fan of that idea. But I think as at least at this point in my life, I'm really deep into this idea of being interconnected with everything else. I know that that's not necessarily related to your like kind of ideas about fate, but I really like the idea that every single decision that I make is necessarily affected by everything else that has happened to me thus far. I don't know that I believe that I can make a decision that is not affected by what came before me. And when I think about free will, I think kind of similarly to originality, I think it's not even useful. I think it's a necessary idea to have about the way that you live your life. A big criticism of more dogmatic Marxism is that you kind of take dialectics for granted and you kind of expect the kind of history to progress on its own and you don't really take action. I do think that free will, kind of similar to that, is just an important, you need to feel like you're making decisions for yourself, obviously, but kind of in the same vein as originality, I do think it's a myth. I do think that it's just a thing that we use because we can't really fathom anything else. But I'm a really big fan of the idea that realistically, everything is a cycle, and we are necessarily a part of that cycle. And because of that, we're indebted to everything that came before us. I think that's the most useful thing to come from what I've just been talking about. I think that a lot of art made with this in mind, or kind of some vein of this in mind, is really, really good art and some of my favorite art. An example of this that I really like to use is any FromSoft game. They have a really solid understanding of philosophy in general and kind of the way that the world works. I believe Hidetaka Miyazaki, the kind of the brain behind a lot of the games, was a sociology major, and I think sociology kind of takes a lot of what I just said into account. I don't know much about sociology myself, but I do like to claim to be kind of an amateur linguistics nerd. And I think that when we look at languages, I think that's one of the areas where it's the most clear and beautiful to see the historical process unfolding. The words that are even just coming out of my mouth right now, they're words that are evolving in real time. They're words that have ancient history behind them that we can kind of look back at the dominoes that came before. I really, really like linguistics because of that, how clearly you can see that. I think language is one of the most interesting ways to feel connected to everything else and really understand that you're necessarily ingrained in this amazing world. So I'm a really big fan of that. And I think that really everything that you could possibly get into, any science or any art form, really shows you how ingrained you are with everything else and in the fabric of everything else, and you're a part of this beautiful historical tapestry. I think that great artists really understand their place in that tapestry. I think when people are really interested in something, it's because of that feeling that you get from understanding your place in the universe. Learning about things or making art that I think that can be just a really great way of doing that. Yeah. I think a lot of media that I consume that I think is good really hammers that in. Again, From Software games specifically, I think make a really good use of this. And I've been working on a script for a video, kind of putting them all together. They have a huge theme of cycles and archetypes and how that all fits into a greater cycle and an even greater cycle and smaller cycles within that great cycle. So yeah, those are kind of my ideas on this. They're not at all fully fleshed out. Fully recognize that. I'm using a new camera, which is my phone camera, which looks a lot better. So, oh, I was looking at the wrong spot this whole fucking time. Fuck. You know what? It's fine. This is like my second take, but now I'm looking at the right spot. So now you know that the next time that I do this, I'll be looking at the right spot, and I apologize. But kind of wanted to give also just a little bit of a channel update and a life update ish to like the two people that are watching this. I want to make more videos. I have a lot of ideas of kind of scripts that I want to make, kind of exploring some movies and some video games. I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft lately. That's been kind of my comfort right now. The next expansion's coming out very soon, so I might make some videos on that. I have a lot of eclectic interests, and I don't want to have I don't want to have 5 different channels for each interest that I have. So expect a lot of eclectic things. Don't subscribe if you're not into that, of course. Yeah. I think that's it. Sorry if this was a huge mess. I'm just trying to put myself out there a little bit. So, if you didn't like it, give me a nice dislike. If you did like it, give me a like. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do any of that. Love you. Bye. Sorry if this sucked. No, it didn't suck. But yeah, kind of going forward. I'm going to probably make some videos playing some WoW. Maybe post a cover or two. I've been practicing some Nutrimilk Hotel songs on guitar. And I would love to kind of put that out there and have a reason to practice and get a little bit better. I'll leave some videos in the description and some more resources to learn about historical materialism if you're interested in that. Again, I'm not nearly qualified enough to go into depth with that, but there's a lot of great videos explaining some historical dialectical materialism stuff. So I hope this was okay. I hope I kept you a little entertained. If you have any other ideas about this, please let me know. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. But thank you for watching if you watched this far. Love you. Bye.